How will Daenerys' invasion fare in Season 7? Will she get any closer to the Iron Throne? And what about the rest of Team Targaryen? Varys, Tyrion, Jorah and Jon? These are my predictions for House Targaryen in Season 7. Hi everyone, this is Robert. Welcome to Deep Geek. Particularly if you're a first-time viewer, please do consider subscribing if you enjoy the video. This is the second of 3 predictions videos I'll be doing for Season 7. I've already done one on the Lannisters, and the other one on House Stark and the North will be up shortly. But today we're looking at House Targaryen and Daenerys' invasion. I'm basing these predictions on where all the characters' story arcs are going, and what we learned from the official trailers, so don't expect leaked set photos, but do expect some slightly spoilery speculation. The closing shot of Season 6 was of Dany's invasion fleet, and I think that is where we'll pick up with her again in Season 7. It has taken her a long time, but she has finally amassed a very impressive invasion force. She has the finest cavalry in Essos in the Dothraki, some of the best infantry in the Unsullied, the best navy in the Ironborn, alliances with Dorne and the Reach, and, of course, her dragons. On the face of it, this looks like a near unstoppable force when you consider that the armies of Westeros are tired and depleted after years of warfare. But of course, things never go completely to plan. And it's worth taking a moment to appreciate that this is an alliance of convenience, not an alliance of people who are all personally invested in Daenerys becoming queen. Dorne and the Tyrells are there for revenge on Cersei, and Yara has joined up as a way to get the Salt Throne for herself. And just because Dany starts her invasion with 3 dragons doesn't mean that she will always have that advantage. But we will come back to that later. As far as we can tell, her plan seems to be to split her fleet. If the Dornish, Reach and Ironborn forces can secure the southwest of Westeros, and she holds Dragonstone, then she will have King's Landing virtually surrounded, controlling food supplies from the west and access from the sea to the east. This would put her in a very strong position to force Cersei to surrender. The first part of this plan, to take Dragonstone, seems to go without any problems at all. In fact, it appears to be virtually deserted. So expect Dany to move into her ancestral home early in the season and stay there, planning her invasion from Stannis' old map room. The second part of the plan to surround Cersei is, of course, reliant on the Dornish and Tyrell forces actually reaching land. And it doesn't look as if they do. These images from the trailers seem to show that Euron Greyjoy has managed to build his fleet and, true to his word, hunted down Yara and Theon. Theon seems to have survived that assault, so perhaps it is him who carries the news of this defeat to Daenerys, but it won't be immediate. So Daenerys will no doubt continue with her original plans for at least an episode or 2. And for the moment at least, those plans appear to be being led by Tyrion. He is a tempering influence on Dany. Her first instinct has now, for years, been to use violence as a first option. But Tyrion is the opposite. He will favour diplomacy. And so I can see his first move being to request that the heads of all the great houses of Westeros come to Dragonstone to pay homage to their new queen. In practice, however, this request is only aimed at 2 people, Jon and Cersei. Of the other 7 great houses, 2, Martell and Tyrell, have already sworn fealty, of course. 1, Baratheon, has been effectively wiped out. The Greyjoys are in open civil war with themselves. The Freys are theoretically in charge of the Riverlands, but Arya has left the succession there quite uncertain, and the Arryns are supporting the Starks. So, what of Cersei and Jon? Well, Cersei clearly won't give up that easily, and Jon has other things on his mind. This picture shows Jon and Davos at Dragonstone, so it seems that they answer the summons. but I don't think he will kneel immediately. I don't think he cares too much about the Iron Throne, but he does care about defeating the White Walkers, and there are two good reasons for going to Dragonstone to see Daenerys. First, because Dany and her dragons will potentially be decisive in the battle against the White Walkers, and second, because, as Davos knows, there are vast quantities of dragonglass beneath Dragonstone, and that is one of only two things that we know will kill White Walkers. So we can expect Jon to try to come to some sort of agreement with Dany about him accepting her as queen in return for her helping him against the White Walkers. Tyrion, again, will be crucial here. He knows Jon and spent some time with him both at Winterfell and the Wall, and he will know that Jon is not crazy. As a second aside here, Tyrion himself has gone on a journey on this. He started the series thinking that everything supernatural was laughable. He joked with Jon about fairy tale creatures like Grumpkins and Snarks being beyond the Wall, but since then he has seen Daenerys' dragons and come to understand that there are things out there in the world that are beyond his experience. He will not dismiss Jon's thoughts without careful consideration. However, I expect that this will be the moment when Dany learns of the defeat of her forces at sea. She may also learn of Cersei going on the offensive in the Reach. If you want to know why I think Cersei will do this, then please check out my Lannister predictions video. Suffice to say that Cersei is not someone to pass up an opportunity to attack her enemies. Neither, of course, is Dany, and I think that this is where we will see her default to her natural destructive tendencies and her distaste of just sitting cooped up inside while the action goes on elsewhere. From her perspective, the plan she had is already starting to unravel. Her fleet destroyed, her allies crushed, Cersei with a new powerful ally, and now Jon trying to get her to pause her invasion, to go north and fight a threat she has only just heard of and doesn't completely believe. I think Daenerys will do what she always does in these situations, trust in herself and her dragons, and set some things on fire. In the trailers we can see the Unsullied attack and seemingly capture Casterly Rock, and then what looks like a devastating victory over the Lannister army in the field, led by Daenerys herself on Drogon. This will probably be enough to shift the balance of power in the war back Daenerys' way, but let's pause our discussion of her for a moment to consider briefly what might happen to the other members of Team Daenerys. The trailers show us Yara and Ellaria getting close, but I think this is likely to be a short-lived thing, if only because of Euron's attack. And while we're at it, I honestly can't see the Sand Snakes surviving long either. There is no real need for them in the plot anymore, and, well, they aren't exactly fan favourites. There's also Grey Worm and Missandei. We see him apparently leading a sneak assault on Casterly Rock, and her in the background as Dany explores Dragonstone, but again I can't really see either character playing a major role this season. One character I am intrigued by is Varys. He has largely been absent from promotional materials for Season 7. This makes some sense. This looks to be a battle-heavy season, and his skills are better used in rebuilding the continent afterwards. But I do have a nagging thought in my mind that he may not be 100% behind Daenerys. He isn't in the books. He's supporting Aegon, a character who doesn't appear in the show, and he is very much focused on wanting the best for Westeros, rather than being a true believer in Daenerys' right to rule. If he comes to see her as just another conqueror who cares little for the common people, he may start to look elsewhere. I said we'd come back to the dragons, because I think this will be the season where they suddenly seem less indomitable. Over the past 5 seasons, they have turned from dangerous pets to the equivalent of nuclear weapons in an age of bow and arrows. And for the sake of the narrative, I simply can't see all 3 of them seeing out the season undamaged. Otherwise, they will simply destroy every fleet, army and castle in the land. question is, who will figure out a way to destroy them? There are a couple of hints in the books that it was the Maesters who killed the dragons last time. There's a hunt for a mysterious book called The Death of Dragons, and Euron has a horn called Dragonbinder that he claims will give him control over a dragon. So, in the show, will the Maesters dig up some old lore or knowledge that will help in the fight? Or perhaps a renegade Maester like Qyburn? Or will the Night King reveal yet another power to fight fire with ice? However it happens, I don't expect Dany to end the season with 3 dragons. But I think she will end it with Jorah by her side. We last saw him heading off to find a cure for his grayscale, and although he has a few options as to where to go, the most obvious place is the Citadel, with the greatest library and the greatest healers in the land. And luckily for him, Sam has just arrived there recently. As well as being a good guy who will probably want to help out people in need, Sam, let's not forget, knew Jorah's father. Jeor Mormont saved Sam's life north of the Wall, and Sam's inability to release the ravens asking for help led indirectly to Jeor's death. Sam will undoubtedly feel he owes Jorah a favour, and I think he will find a cure, or someone will. Gilly also seemed to be doing some research in the promo pictures. In any event, I think Jorah will find a cure and find his way back to Daenerys. But what else will Sam discover? Well, what he may discover, and not appreciate the significance of, is evidence of the marriage of Rhaegar and Lyanna, and of the birth of a child to them. He won't realise the significance because that child won't be called Jon. It won't be until he gets back up north and meets Bran, as I think he will, that the two of them will be able to tie all of this together, revealing that Jon, not Daenerys, is the true Targaryen heir. I don't think Jon will find out this season, although he might hear a rumour from Littlefinger or Varys, but the importance of this discovery can't really be underestimated. Daenerys is not the rightful queen of the Seven Kingdoms, even by the terms of her own claim. Her life's work and sole focus has been to take possession of something that doesn't belong to her, and never did. Whether, when she discovers this, she continues her unflinching pursuit of the Iron Throne, will tell us a lot about her character. So for most, if not all of Season 7, Jon and Dany will be blissfully unaware that they are related. But she, at least, will be very aware that she may need to marry someone in order to secure the throne. We know this is on her mind because both Tyrion and Daario talked to her about it before the end of Season 6, and Jon is by far the most politically advantageous match. A marriage to him would secure the support of the North and the Vale of Arryn. But more than this just being a political union, I think there's a good chance that Jon and Daenerys will fall in love this season, or at least in lust. I think that this has been hinted at for a long time in the books. In fact, I did a whole video on Dany's visions in the House of the Undying that, I think, hints strongly at a love affair with him. And it actually fits what we know of both their types. Daenerys has a history of liking warriors and leaders, and Jon clearly likes strong, independent-minded women. So we will end Season 7 with Daenerys in a very different place to how she started it. She is still going to be focused on the Iron Throne, but Jon and Tyrion will have helped turn her attention to the greater threat north of the Wall. She will still have an overwhelming military advantage over Cersei in the south, but her army will no longer seem undefeatable, and she may not even still have all 3 dragons. She will still have her close team of trusted advisors, but some will be gone. One will return, and some may be doubting her. And finally, tragically, she may be falling in love with, or considering marrying, the one man who, unbeknownst to both of them, whose very existence invalidates her own claim to the Iron Throne. What do you think? What do you think Team Daenerys will face in Season 7? Let me know in the comments below. If you'd like to support me in producing more videos like this, as well as getting access to more of my content, please click through to my Patreon page. I really do appreciate it. And if you want to know when my next video comes out, then please click on the subscribe button and make sure your notifications are enabled. Thanks for watching. That's all for this time. I'll see you again soon.